Hey, welcome everybody. Friday night at the crib. It's open mic. The link is in the right-hand side in case you'd like to join us. We're going to talk about sector consolidation, VXP weekend, Proto Apollo style, I guess for many, and any other topics you guys would like to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody from left to right. It's Magic Mike.
Good evening, everybody.
And Watchman.
Hi, everyone.
And Two Doors.
Meh.
See. And this is Hefe. I don't know. Should we talk about sector consolidation before VXP weekend, or anybody have any thoughts on that?
Seemed like it went fairly smooth, as things go for things in the game.
Okay, wait, which one are we talking about?
Sector consolidation.
Okay, yeah, okay. We can talk about that one first. Yeah, we've gone from 500 sectors across 5 worlds down to 100 sectors across 5 worlds, so 20 sectors per world. I'm in a sector that really didn't see a huge amount of change initially, but now we get, I don't know, is the relocate button down to like you can relocate every 10 minutes or something?
I was told that by someone that was doing it.
Yeah. So that's, maybe they'll shut that off at some point soon, because you do get the crazy showing up every once in a
while. Well, I had a hit and run on my base, sort of like, something like hit and then boom, gone. No chance to hit back. But yeah, well, because if I was just like hitting, jumping, I think, they're just like, taking advantage of it.
Having fun.
Yeah, but we're in 55. We was 235. We ended up in 55. There's us, like our alliance's mug. We got a load of we got Gimps in here. We got quite a few PNLS. That's it, Rogue. There's quite a few BSB, I think, it's something like that. Yeah. So we've got quite a few largest alliances here, or parts of. So it's quite a busy sector.
Okay. Yeah, I had pre-scouted the 5 sectors we were going to get combined with, and the sector I was in was dead to begin with, but it was actually the busiest of the 5 sectors. So, my experience may not be the same as yours, because I've seen some screen grabs and whatnot that there are some very busy sectors out there. So, yeah, as long as there's an option to have quieter sectors, I guess they didn't, at this point, doesn't appear that they've consolidated too much at this point.
Well, they brought through some of the band bases as well, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm not sure. They've never really released the what qualifies as the bases that they were going to reap. So I don't know, because I've seen banned bases out there. I don't know if they've been banned recently or how they, how they made that decision.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was one that was in our old sector that had been banned for about 3 years, and that came with us. It wasn't from our alliance, by the way, but it for some reason it came across with us. I don't know if it's because people have been hitting those bases recently, because they had no bubbles, so it might have registered as active or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Did it still have an alliance?
Yeah, still a tag. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if it still has a tag, I'm willing to bet people are hitting those. So that could have been the reason, because then people were getting their alliance points off of this.
Yeah, I think it was like the problem. It was the alliance leader that got banned, and
okay.
I think the rest of the alliance dispersed. So
okay.
Yeah.
It seems like personally, if I was going to do this consolidation, I would have only done the consolidation. I wouldn't have added in more changes at that point in time. And it appears that they've done something with the pathing and the control of our ships.
Oh,
On
yeah.
top of that,
Yes.
which makes it very difficult to, well, not very difficult, but it makes it monotonous at the beginning to stack your ships.
Yes.
And originally there was a problem with the 120s and the 121s, which I'm not even sure if that's related. But yeah, they added in more complexity to this change. But I think that's a separate issue that they decided to do with it during the same update.
Yeah, if you're trying to stack and kite anything, you had no chance. You know, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also noticed an issue with because when I hit the 120s, I use waypoints, and the waypoints aren't as consistently working as they were before. They're less predictable, and I haven't found a solution to it. I'm not sure exactly.
Did you
what caused it.
notice? Did you notice when you clicked? As soon as you clicked, it actually moved it over a little bit every time. It actually moved where you were going to by a few centimeters or whatever on the screen. Every time you click a point, it was moving it. It's like, whoa, what's going on there? Like,
Yeah, and they need to, whatever problem they were trying to fix with that. They should really just repeal that, and just go back to whatever it is, because it's been a couple of days and they still haven't fixed it. So yeah, I would just take that back and move forward. But I've seen a lot of people saying they're getting much better performance both on the map and in besides the stacking issue, which doesn't appear to be lag related, but they've been getting better results inside the targets as well. Have you guys seen that?
For lag?
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen an improvement or not, but I've had a couple of flash crashes, which I don't normally get when we're not in raid cycle.
Yeah, I got a flash crash yesterday.
Yeah.
I've not had one for ages. Oh.
So I've had that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't noticed a big difference in lag for myself, to be honest.
Yeah, performance, I've not noticed any difference. But I did get a flash crash, and I've not had one for a while. So
I've had several.
I can scroll around the map easier, but in target performance, I can't really say.
I mean, obviously, I know I've got a pretty powerful computer and a fast connection. So, and I know, Brian, you said your connection's pretty bad, so it might benefit you a lot more, and I might not be noticing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. His connection is impacted by whether he's wearing a tinfoil hat or not at that point in time.
Is there wind? Are there clouds? Well, I have bad news.
There's a leaves falling.
Yeah.
Leaves falling off the trees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. Have we covered most of the consolidation issues? I've learned to use my ignore button more than I have in the past.
I've been avoiding comms a lot.
Yeah. It's I like to keep them a little bit more. I like to leave them open, but not have them just conspiracy theories and wackiness going on in them. So I tend to ignore those people.
I don't want to jump the gun on other things we might be discussing, but there's been quite a few TLCs and extra chores to do this week. So I've just been knuckling down and getting on with those when I've got the time, and sort of I haven't engaged on comms that much,
Yeah. As far as the TLCs, there are a fair amount of them. Considering, I know this show has complained a lot about having required TLCs during the week of the VXP weekend. And the push to my push is like making them real catch up ones, or make them mega ones, so you don't have to combine it with repairing your ships, so you can get them done.
Yeah.
They haven't done that this time around. And also, I haven't done any of them besides the Hidden Depths one because of the stacking issue. I didn't want to deal with the stacking issue. I just felt like the ones that they provided for the mana cores are difficult enough when the game's performing correctly to try to do it when the game is not performing correctly.
So we don't know if
Just
they've
got sorry, I've just got to do the mastery in the Devil Driver.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think you can do that 3 times, can't you? Is it, yeah, 1 of 3, yeah, 0 of 3. So yeah, I'm up to that, in the round before I got quite a heavy bit of damage, so I'm just there on long repair. You know, what I mean, they're going overnighters basically.
I was just going to ask you because those TLCs were quite painful, and I just wondered if they backed off any of the damage on those. Sounds like they didn't.
Doesn't look like it.
This is the easy mode, and I know because one fleet can complete an entire 7-target run.
Oh, okay.
So,
that wasn't the case the last time they had it out.
Yeah,
well,
I did it.
Sort of.
For me, it wasn't.
The first time they had Devil Driver and Whiplash, and the first time they had the ones for the flags, a full fleet, it was very difficult to complete. At least for scatters, for me, I would die in the last round. And with this, I'm taking 6 hours-ish damage, which is half damage. So this is the easier version, because this is the second
time.
time.
Sound like they cut some slack. Okay.
They mentioned the second time they ran these that they lowered the difficulty on them, and this third time the lower difficulty is still in effect.
Yeah, I did 7 targets, like with 1 scatter fleet. So, I think I got about 9 hours repair. That, to be honest with you, I mean, I wasn't driving smart, but as I said, that'll go on an overnight. You know, once I was just getting the FM done, I've got about another run or so to do to finish that off. So I normally hit about 3 million with the dragons, put them on a few hours repair, come back, and that, you know, do that a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a day, and you're done, aren't you? You know.
Yeah, I think I'm done with my FM claiming all the new stuff. It was the big problem I had is just finding the targets because of the leaderboard, or not the leaderboard, the locator. Is if you use the locator, you get sent off to another sector.
Well, we're pretty busy here, so you know you can just look around and you're going to find I must admit there is loads of map targets because we're busy. But the only thing I found it's the I don't want to go jump to VXP, but yeah, I've not had a problem finding FM targets.
Yeah, and the VXP targets, as far as the locator goes, it seems to work better on those for some reason. Maybe because they all spawn at the same time, or I don't know. They haven't really explained completely what the issue is with the locator. But I did notice a difference in the raid, where if you use the locator associated with if you clicked on the icon for the raid and then went to targets, it would find the ones closer to you. At least that was my experience, as opposed to going to the locator, the normal locator on the map, and then going to raid targets. That was sending me somewhere else.
Yeah, I was getting sent two sectors away. You know.
Yeah, and the way those spawn, at least for the S sets, or tier 8. They don't spawn associated with bases, so it shouldn't matter if it's busy or slow sector. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the locator, but I consider it to be, a fairly big issue, but it's been going on for months, and they just sort of like, oh yeah, the locator, yeah, it's broken.
I was told the locator locates.
Yeah, it'll find something, but sectors away, and until they fix the sniping issue, I don't really appreciate, having to find all my FM targets in other sectors.
Yeah, there's still snipers out there. I've still seen the idiots, like if I look at world comms. But I think the FM targets I had a problem with because basically the vast majority of the bases now should be active or should be live, so they're all spawning.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't got a load of dead bases. You've got a lot of live bases that are closer together. So for me, I found it quite easy to find the FM targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they do spawn off bases, and that's it. Could just be that it's the straight ratio. They're pushing the because I don't think that many people hit the 105. The 111. I mean, people still hit the 111. But the 114, most people are hitting the 120 and the 121.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess they're just depleting that, and they're coming back at the same ratio. It just seemed, be nice if they changed the ratio because based on the way the players are hitting them, so they're available close inside your sector and whatnot. So we done with those issues? Should we go on to VXP weekend?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Part of my concern about this VXP weekend relates to this. This is the last one in the cycle. The next VXP weekend is going to be siege based, correct? And yeah, and siege VXP targets historically have not provided VXP for anything besides dying in them, which is a good thing for because they provide more for dying. There's a higher cap associated with it, but they're also not enjoyable. Just sending in fleets to have them die over the course of 36 hours and repairing them and whatnot. So I really hope they do something with that.
Well, we expect every blank hull to be 3.5 hours repair time, or at least, or something like that. So yeah, that's going to be an ouch again. Like the new siege fleet that we'll be picking up next month, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fleets.
Headache or Wilbur 12. Normally, what they do is next raid is the last raid in the cycle, where we win the siege, hulls. So normally, the VXP targets that fall afterwards are siege. They're related to that. So this is the last month for this.
Yeah, sort of a taster of what to expect, sort of.
Yeah, and something, combination of that, testing for them, taster for us, and then, something that's appropriate to rank up your ships. But because what we've seen this month is, as far as the VXP target and the hull of their sexy hull, so to speak, the hull that they released in the raid was the Proto Apollo. Which does penetrative damage, and the targets appear to be they don't like to take penetrative damage. So it seems like you're getting limited VXP because you're not getting all of your offensive VXP, the points that you're getting for doing damage to the target, which is an oversight. I don't know if it's an oversight, but I don't find it enjoyable to have a target that's basically sort of like the siege target, where you're basically, if outfitted the way that you were supposed to, you just basically send it into the target to die, and then you repair. And that's I don't think that's an enjoyable game mechanic for the players.
It's quieting down now, but I must admit I had trouble finding the 100s because people were killing them. When I want, it's annoying when you've got a crew on and crew's running, and you just want to get your fleet ranked, and people are actually are killing the 100s because it's VXP weekend, not grab a token weekend.
Those tokens are also VXP, but
I know. Give people a chance to sort of get their fleets ranked and then go and grab them for the last hour or two. You know what I mean, on the Saturday or whatever. You know, but
because if you have a fully built out skirmish fleet, they're pretty easy to take out.
Yeah, you know, and some people are actually wanting to VXP their fleets. You know, or hold.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the issues with sector consolidation, that there's actually,
so many people now going for the. Well, we haven't got any extra relay towers, so and we've got a lot more bases looking for the same targets.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
Yeah. That was one of the issues that was discussed before sector consolidation showed up, and they said they were going to spawn more targets, and it looks like, to a certain extent, I think they are spawning more targets, but not a huge amount more. Maybe before they would spawn like 6 around it and one. Now they're spawning 8. I don't know what the exact mechanic was, but there has been an increase, but not an increase of 5-fold.
Yeah, I'm seeing 3 100s. No, actually, lie. Yeah, 3 100s and 3 50s by the relay tower near me.
Okay.
Currently.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's similar. It just seemed like more than there was before, but not significantly more. So, and I've been trying to, as far as what we said with the Proto Apollos, not being able to damage these targets significantly enough to get their full VXP. I've tried. I haven't had a chance to experiment with it that much, but if you guys have a ship with one weapon and a engine and whatnot, I'll know more probably tomorrow, which is going to be too late. But these targets are don't have high resistances to explosive or concussive. I put, like I said, I haven't had a chance to play with it that much, but I put Maelstrom 4s, where you can put 6 Maelstrom 4s on your Proto Apollos for less than 5 minutes, so it's instant speed up, and they're doing explosive damage. So it's worth a shot on to see if it does anything, because it's not going to hurt you. It's going to be instant to put them on, instant to take them off. I'm not suggesting at all that you replace any of your, any of your weapons that took time to build, but it may be helpful to increase your points by increasing the damage that you are doing to the targets. And
you can actually get in range and hit these things before you die?
Yeah. Because they are, there's a technique, if you go like what we've been using before, you go along the bottom of the 100s, and there's a battleship at the bottom that doesn't do a lot of damage. So you hug the bottom and then you go up.
Oh, okay. Because, these things, we're estimating, again, literal millions of damage per shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the battleships, the little battleships they're doing the least amount of damage, and you don't, like as we've talked about before, you don't need to do that much damage.
It's like 30,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
The first time I did it, I got 37,000, and it killed my ships, and I went in with the same weapon that
the multiform.
Yeah, and I couldn't get close enough to get a shot off, and I only got 515.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because you only 1% repair, but you also had just the multiform on, which we're not sure if it's doing damage.
Correct.
Yeah.
The only hull I've got built anyway is the free one they gave. So because I spent this week's FM tokens getting the Ockhams done in time to VXP it up, like a blank on that. So that'll be done in about a week, next week.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 fleets done, and then I've got a choice: either I can use both shipyards to refit, defend like PvP hulls, or I could start on the Proto Apollos. I'm not sure yet how important the Proto Apollos are going to be, but I might just build some blank holes because they're quick, aren't they? You know, I could have them done in a few days, and then I can VXP them next month. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm just, you know, I don't think it's a big rush. I haven't seen any announcement of a new SSRB.
That's it. You know? Yeah, they're not a priority for me at the moment.
Yeah. I wish we had more guidance on what's, you know, the future of the Proto Apollo, because the Proto Centurion didn't seem to have much of a future, and the future of the Proto Tideseeker was short lived. If you own bat rays.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the bat rays. I just finished them before the last raid, but I'm still using my Proto Apollos to go out and, you know, and get uranium and stuff like that. Still do all right with it.
Your prototypes.
Prototypes. Sorry. Yeah,
but if you did the same thing to get uranium with your bat rays, it's night and day. The bat rays is just, they eat the, you know, I send them into the SSRBs by myself, and I take about 6 or 7 minutes of damage in the SSRB and get 130 million or 130,000, whatever number it is. But I'm taking 6 or 7 minutes of damage. But if you use the prototypes, you would get about the same amount of damage, maybe a little bit less, but you had to have somebody in there with hunters as well to get 65K.
Right.
So otherwise you would take several hours of damage trying to do the SSRBs with a
but that's it. I mean, if they do come out with another SSRB for the Proto Apollo that allows us to get, you know, in things with almost an instant repair, then then it's worth a build. As I said, I've got the Centurions. I've got the blanks built for the Centurions. They're all VXP'd. I've never finished them, and I kind of get the feeling that I might end up doing the same thing with the Apollos, but we'll see. You know, we'll see.
I mean, the Proto Cents are about to be theoretically obsoleted by whatever Tier 8 siege hull is coming out next month. Like, that's happening, and that's happening very soon.
Yeah.
The Proto Apollo, it is so weird. Like, I don't... And the video, by the way, is complete shit. Look, Kix, if you're watching this show instead of TFC, let me tell you how to run a scientific experiment, okay? So you need to have them doing the same things, you know, just run the same part of the target, even if it's just a section of the target, and then pull out and show the repair. They have to run the same things. And then all we can really complain about is technically unprovable stuff, which is quality of builds, which is did they tune the damage up or down this way or that. But that's stuff that we can't see and we can't prove. What you gave us was two things doing two completely different sections, which barely even showed off the capabilities for the hulls, and then one pulled out with a third of the repair of the other. But that doesn't really matter because they were doing vastly different things. It's not even a side-by-side comparison. Like, what the heck? Come on. Do better next time. Although for Protos, there is no next time, which I suppose is good. Let's see, what else is there about this? I'm not going to build Proto Apollos. I don't see the use. I haven't tested the new map targets yet with my scatter manties, but I just can't see myself sinking 80 days with the build time and having to probably wait until the siege thing to rank up my Proto Apollos to do what? To like maybe get titanium for what? 6-7 months?
Well, this is it. I mean, I will have finished without the Proto Apollos. I'll have finished technically all the builds that I need for my chores, VXP, raid, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Ships, FM ships, everything's done. I'll then have free time to allow me to upgrade that shipyard before the next raid.
Yeah, and for me, it's strange because I had to shove and use all my tokens to upgrade my shipyard because I went Razor Tails, and you need that weight reduction on the Legion to, have a lot of builds viable, or you'd need to take two weapons and replace them with Gales, which I found to be a massive annoyance. But at the same time, it's protos. I feel like I should be making protos because I'm about to be done with my battery fleet with the tokens that I'll get, and I'm done with my Razor fleet. I just need to finish up the flags on both of them, but I'll probably have a couple of weeks where my shipyard's empty. There's nothing to do. And I probably would have upgraded my shipyard as well if I didn't feel like I needed to do that beforehand. But 2 weeks to build what? One hull? If that? They need to like rain tokens down on us if they want us to actually build these things. And I think what would have been just fantastic for protos, and if they do similar things like this in the future, where they release a sort of mid-tier, like well off. This is 2 months after the assault cycle ended, where we already built fleets for the assault cycle targets. If they do something like that, you know how they had a weapon weight of negative 20%, which again I think is really clever. Why can't they have it just any component, any weapon, any special, any armor, not just the stuff that came with it, although this could maybe be toned down in the base weapon time. Anything you put to build on this, half build time, 1/3 build time, 2/3 build time, just a significant reduction so that we can get them out and in use by the time, before they become obsolete, because they're going to be obsolete in 6-7 months. I don't know how well they're going to do
That's it.
cycles for 2019.
80 days to commit to a fleet build without them giving us a real target for that fleet to hit.
And yeah, we drop that down to 40, and we could even drop the VXP requirements on them, either flavorfully because, it's a different Apollo, and you know how the Apollo works. I know they're doing expert builds for this right out of the gate, and I think that was a good idea, but a very strange one because, again, we're just building blanks with these usually. With the older holes, we have enough tokens to get them out, all fully decked out or mostly. Just something to work with, or like TLCs every week, and not like boring all the heck ones where you take 6 hours of damage for 2 days of bat ray build time, and then I want to just go into a corner and sob or whatever. It's something good with like 30k VXP tokens, 3-day build tokens, blackjack and hookers, all that sort of stuff. That's what we need in Proto Apollo campaigns to make them viable for people that aren't high end. And people that are high end, they have Acades. So in a strange, unique way, they're eliminated by another meta hull, and I just understood what that was. Thank you, Hefe. Is that a razor?
Yeah, I just never got that Cadies. As I said, this time last year when they were like throwing out the Cadies shards like candy, it was a time night to take a break just for work, and I had to miss a few raids, and then sort of struggled back with catch up again. And it was just one of those ones where they threw out all those Cadies shards, and since then they've only been throwing them out in little trickles, and I'm nowhere. It'd take me another 2 years to get enough shards to be able to build one.
Yeah, I never bought. I started buying them just this past raid because I had 4 million points that, what am I going to do with it? Between that and, oh God, even less than I thought. I have 14 shards for Acades, and I think I bought 10 of those last raid.
Yeah, so work out how many raids you got to do before you're going to get Acades.
It's never going to be done. Not at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, unless they come out with TLC, yeah, like you said, TLCs with a shitload of tokens and whatnot, I mean, I think potentially the truth of it is the whole proto thing was the idea of the previous team. And now that team is gone, okay, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it half-ass. at least that's the way it looks at this point, because the lack of a target, lack of communication associated with it. So
This is like a quarter ass.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, you offer a prize without a target.
Yeah.
The SSRB, it needs to be them to positively say, yeah, we're going to open up the third part of the SSRBs, and it's going to be specific for the Proto Apollos. And you think, well, I'm going to need them then. But at the moment, I think most people are not seeing the need to build them.
So, what if in the SSRBs you get your resource prizes as normal, but you get a guaranteed shard for, how the Flying Dutchman brought us the Cormorant Torp and the Gale 4? What if those shards went to the SSRB? And maybe not for skirmish necessarily, because now we have Bat Rays and can walk it, but for other stuff. Yeah, it doesn't flavorfully fit because it's cross class basically. You're using assault stuff to win skirmish stuff, which is ass backwards, but you can't have them just walk everything with current tech. I know they said, oh, this particular stuff we're never going to offer, in a different fashion, but Kickstarter have gone back in their word and just been outright wrong before.
No, they didn't say that. They just said it'll be a while before the Cormorant and the Gale 4 get released. It was never on that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, how long is a piece of string, isn't it? It's when. How long is a while,
Yeah. How many holes are in a straw?
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, I just have a hard time putting a lot of effort towards that. Especially with we have the refactor dropping at some point soon, where players may want to be using both shipyards to outfit both their base guards and their conqueror ships.
That is the reason I kind of want to keep both shipyards open.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of do things at double speed, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to see, and I mean, I don't PvP like at all, but I feel like I'm going to need to adjust my defense fleet, and I'm going to need to adjust my turrets. And while in the latter case, I could just go out and auto 103s, sort of, I think one of the other things with sector consolidation is 5 sectors worth of people are going to all need to hit 103s, and a lot of them, and in a relatively short time frame. So that's going to be fun or something, or death.
Yeah. And it's a huge downside. I agree. It's because Mike and I have been in the same sector for a while, and I have an easier time finding 103s historically prior to the consolidation than I do 120s from the FM. The 120s are much more difficult to find than the 103s for the base parts, which is backwards and upside down and whatnot. But well, you were in a dead sector too, weren't you, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I can see a couple of 103s out there at the moment, but I've done a few refits, that I wanted to do, primary ones. But I'm going to be honest with you. I've got about 4 fleets in repair at the moment, or need repairing. Because the base got hit, so I'm doing a short repair on a guard fleet, and then there's the FM fleet. There's the fleet I used to do the the Devil Driver. And so yeah, they're all sort of. There's a few ouches in there.
Yeah, and it's because in 10 days as it relates to the 103s and the base part targets, from what we've been told, there's going to be what appears to be an anti radioactive turret that's going to drop in Bounty, which I'm not sure what tier it's going to be. And then also on the 19th, in 10 days, there's going to be a briefing of OP11 PvP refactor or some. There's going to be some sort of briefing. I'm not sure if it's related to the refactor or it's related to what's going to happen with OP11, since we only got half of OP11. We didn't get the increase in turrets, armor associated with your outpost, your
land tiles,
your warehouses, and power.
Walls.
Power.
Yeah,
they're working on the walls to change them in some way. And
no one likes building walls, do they? You know?
If they make them easier to build, that will be.
Well, unless you're a complete masochist, you know what I mean? Like, well, I can't imagine. I've never had that much joy of getting walls. I used to do walls during raids, and that, if you're bringing in loads of res, and you could sort of, do them in between runs, because you was bringing that much res in. But during skirmish raids, you're not bringing that much res in, so it's not time to do them anyway.
Yeah. Does anybody see a reason that you would have? Let's say you have the ability to have level 10 walls. Is there any reason you would want to have a couple of level 6 walls or a level 2 wall, or is there any reason strategic reason that you would think of to have lower level walls in your base?
Not strategically.
If there's that one level where blocking splash actually works as intended, then yes. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, I mean, my solution is have all your walls the same level, throw them in the naval lab, and have it researchable to get all your walls up to whatever your level is. And therefore, you don't need to upgrade them. You just need to build them initially, and not upgrade every. How many wall pieces we have? Like 500. Don't do it 500 times. Just do it once and have it carry over to everything else. 600. Okay, 600. Yeah. So as opposed to upgrading 600 walls, potentially up to 10 times at this point. So 6,000 times with the check to make sure you have uranium and whatnot. Just do it once and then have all the walls upgraded, because there's not a strategic difference. There's not a reason to have a mix of level 2 walls, a level 8 wall, a level 6 wall, and a level 10 wall. Just get it all done at one spot and just have all your walls be the same.
Yeah, I was just gone into base planner and pulled all the walls in. It's 600.
I would, if that was an option in my naval lab, I would go all in and get, what is it, 1 billion of each resource we can hold now? Get 1 billion of each thing, get 480,000 uranium or whatever I can store now, and just spend all that and say, do it and shut up. And then it's all done.
And you'd be happy with a 30-day research time, right?
Heck yeah, let's go. And it should take a while, because it's a lot of wall pieces, and that makes sense. But just to have the ability to press one button, even if the cost is more exorbitant than pressing, we're talking 24,000 seconds without the delay, which effectively doubles the time to 48,000 seconds, which is 12 and a half hours. 12 and a half hours.
If you got another 100 walls, right, that's 1,000 upgrades, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, if it goes to level 11, then it becomes horrendous. If the walls go to level 11, ooh.
Yeah.
And even if and
we're not even asking for kicks to pay for this wall, are we?
I mean, I feel like they should, with how much they've been screwing us over at this point.
Mm.
But we've got our level 11 walls. They're going to be huge. It's going to be great. I wonder how they would deal with if you upgraded your OP, would you just immediately start and just have the 100 set of walls just ready to place at level 10? Would you have to build them and just upgrade the lot of them, with the one click for that 100 set? I wonder how that would be. I think that might be an interesting thing to.
Well, it's 1,700 upgrades if you had another 100 walls, isn't it? Get them to level 11. 1,700. That's just mental, isn't it?
Yeah, that's getting into about 4 hours of doing nothing but sitting there, clicking the wall, waiting for the server to ping, wait 4 seconds, wait for the server again. You're done. Do the next one. And this is assuming you don't screw it up anywhere, because...
But it's not that, is it? That's just the up time. You know what I mean? How long it takes? It's the amount of uranium, zynthium.
Zinth.
You know, the amount of zynthium that you need to be able to do it with. You know.
Yeah.
I feel like you should have like a vault or something. Like, let's say it costs 2 billion Zynthium to upgrade all your walls instantly. Well, you take 500 million and you put it in this vault and you wait. And once you get all your Zynthium in there, you can just press a button once and it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I still like my original idea, but yeah, I'm not sure how it, because it's the secondary impact of building walls, especially amongst
like a
lower level players.
Like a wall retrofit, basically. You were saying, similar to that, yeah. Retrofitting them from 10 to 11.
Yeah, basically.
But taking a month. Yeah. I think most people would settle for that.
Yeah, and then even if it took 30 days, and you know, everything in your warehouses, because the other issue, which I'm not sure is fair, is the fact that the amount of resources that it costs to upgrade walls impacts lower level players' base levels. Because you can just lower level players, you go up a level in walls. Oh, he's up 3 levels on his base or whatnot. So it's a strategic part, but I'm not sure it's a strategic part that they're following or really aiming for. I'm not certain.
If gaining levels actually got you something useful, it would be great.
No, it gives you something
apart
negative.
From a flat place, yeah,
it gives you something negative is the problem, and upgrading your walls is the path to getting hit by people. So that's because is there any positive to getting higher in levels besides what spawns by your base? And once you get past like level 50, are the TLCs even level limited anymore?
Heck if I know. But even then, like, even if let's say you're a level 40 with Inferno Dragons or whatever, you can go to other people's bases and hit their stuff. There's enough high-level players in the game that spawn any target, and what spawn around the SSRBs aren't necessarily level limited. They're just all sorts, and you can use the locator. So I've seen a lot of games where level isn't indicative of skill or even statistical prowess necessarily, but this is the only game I've seen where you actively don't want to level. Leveling is a bad thing. It's very, very strange.
I mean, the majority of the players now are high level anyway because it's full of the diehards.
Well, that and there's stuff like walls or Apollos, or I'm sorry, not Apollos, like Manticores. They're 200 million each res to build just the hull. That's a lot of experience. Yeah, and you get the tokens to build them quickly. You're shooting up in levels there too. You're getting a bunch of res from your FM targets. That helps with that. They seem to want to push players into higher level where they go out and get flattened, which then they have to coin their base repair, which then they go back and hit someone else.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the other side of it, there's also the fact that if you coin these things, that you don't level up. So if you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to spend coin on it, it doesn't, those res don't go in and out of the base. It's not increasing your VXP if you coin stuff.
I did not know that.
Yeah, which is a little,
shady.
I mean, I'm just trying to provide an answer for why it's a negative thing.
That's an odd and terrifying way to work around it. Yeah, if levels,
who the hell's going to climb walls?
Why do they make it so expensive if people aren't doing it? Somebody doing it. Some coin generator somewhere. I have no idea.
There's always one or two things in a game that are just the worst value for money. That are just really bad value. And once you play more of these kinds of games, you get to spot them. Like what have I got open here? Let me find an example. Special items. Oh, I want to buy other stuff. Darn it. Theme. Yeah, here it is. 15 of their in-game currency for 1,000 research points. 15 of their currency is about 250. And I'm getting 37,000 points an hour just for free. And you can get to 1,000 points an hour within a couple of weeks of playing the game. Like, that's this game's version of a trap. 250 for something you can get in an hour very quickly after starting the game with very little knowledge about it. So it's like that. Walls are that. They're so horribly inefficient, and they've never been fixed, in the off chance that some new player will just think that walls are amazing and coin them. Because they only have to hit what? Like 0.1% of people doing that? And I don't even think it takes time for people to code the new costs in. I think that's all done by a sort of algorithm that has, the resource costs based on what your capacity is. Like, that algorithm is still there, and they probably haven't bothered to update it in years. Even though they're giving us things with 200 million res costs, with the Manticore and the expert build and this and that. It doesn't cost them anymore. It's already in there. So it's kind of just completely positive for them to just leave it in there unchanged and hope someone falls into the trap.
And then sends a ticket in. I accidentally spent my mortgage money on walls, yeah.
Which you very well could if you're, got 100 in a row of level, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Dear God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The walls is hopefully very few people make the mistake of coining them, but the cost associated with them is just ridiculous, and it's something that they could look at and just, I don't know, make it sensible.
I feel like there should either be a subdivision of coins or just something else, because even one wall, like, there's a minimum cost of 1 coin for stuff like that, but I'm sure there's a point where the resource costs that you would use to build that, based on your total capacity, is like 0.0001 coins. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's free.
I mean, if you're getting, say, expert builds where it eats up more res, stuff like that, yeah?
But you
reduce time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
That's
and people accept that. Now, you could do the same thing with the walls if it sort of maybe took a little bit more resources in the earlier level, but it was cheaper, You coined it, but it used some resources as well, If people really wanted to play catch up, but it was very cheap, and it ate resources as well.
Maybe. I mean, they do have to do something about that, and they're not. And, whatever. Just use Hefe's idea. Just put it in your naval lab. From now on, every wall you build is level 11. Every wall that's in your base, when this thing's done, is level 11. Even if you have to build them at level 11 and use those resource costs, sure. Even if there's a premium for it, because there's 10 levels you don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not the worst thing in the world unless everyone is, literally the sum of everything before that. Then every wall piece is like 80 million zinth, but whatever. Hi, George. We're talking about walls and resource costs and terrible things because
It's sticking things in his navel, from what I could hear.
Oh my.
Yeah. As I said, no one likes doing walls. I tend to do them during raids if I can, because if you're bringing back plenty of res in between hits, you top up again, do a few more wall bits, go back out, rinse, repeat. If the raid's going to be a grind, then I throw the walls in at the same time and get it all over and done with.
And I mean,
sort of
when
hit two grind things at the same time.
when it's not a skirmish raid, you can totally do that.
Yeah,
Probably.
But, so hopefully,
Well, also,
they haven't released them at the moment. They haven't released the walls during the skirmish cycle. So if we don't get that till near the end, I'll wait until we get to the siege cycle, and then start playing with the walls.
I more meant that skirmish ships have garbage cargo capacity.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And
they
for
always
some-
have them.
yes, except for the prototypes.
That's it.
Okay.
So you never bring back enough anyway to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, it made sense for subs because they're kind of supposed to be submerged and have the ability to go under and come up. And if you have too much cargo weighing you down, your propulsion system won't be able to carry you up. That
Now
makes at least some sense.
Now we have
But the
surface
stuff we
fleets.
have-
Yeah.
Stuff we have now should have a cargo capacity of, 5 million, 6 million. Even if it's a little bit reduced, just let us have it. It doesn't matter.
Well, but a lot of things in the game they haven't changed because they don't know why it was put there in the first place. One example, we kept on talking about walls, and the reason the walls are so expensive is because to buy resources is freaking expensive, and you're basically buying the resources when you upgrade the walls, and that's why it's going to cost you the cost of a car to upgrade all your walls up to the current level from not. So it's they never looked at fixing that. They never looked at fixing why are we capped at 10 VXP at this point in time, the same time where I ran the numbers a while ago. It was like you had, these numbers may not be correct, I did them on a previous show, but if you hit cargoes, salvages, to get VXP for like when they were invented for like sea wolves, you would have to hit like 125. And then I think for the Proto Dragon, if the numbers are correct, I think it's 9,250, assuming you don't exceed any balances. There's just a lot of things in the game that they don't know why they were put there in the first place, and they haven't really reviewed them to say, oh, okay, well, we should change this, we should change that. Just because the same people aren't around anymore, they change over on people.
Well, the level went up that you needed from 25% up to 75%, but massively increased, and the map targets should have increased in relation to that. And that's been the problem.
I think the reason they're not doing that is
Because
because
they want to make money on the VXP weekend.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. They
Yeah.
can't monetize VXP weekend near as much.
Yeah, I understand that. They've got to make money somewhere. But,
Some nights I wonder where they're making their money. Because they just upped the damage in this past raid, and that pissed a lot of people off. And Bounty has kind of been a shit show and will continue to be for a lot of players until the refactor happens. The top players, they're saying PvP is mostly balanced now, and I mean, I feel like I should believe them in some sense, but that's at their level.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, that's up here, and a lot of players are here. Is it balanced for here? And I know they're trying to figure that out with the refactor as well, but it's this whole thing about free-to-play games in general making a large percentage of money off of a small percentage of their players. People kept pointing to, oh, there's this guy with 2 billion points or whatever, and what is he doing, and blah, blah, blah. It just stuff it's stuff like that, and whether or not that was blitzing, prepping, whether or not that was legit or hacks, like there's all sorts of stuff that it could be. Not not even mentioning.
Okay, let's roll this back then. Let's not say that the map targets are gonna give out. Well, they're only giving out 10 at the moment, yeah. So we're not going to say that they're giving out. We're not going to say they give out a few hundred every time. If they increased it to, if they increased to 100 or something, it would still take you, weeks if you had the seat time to put that in to get a ship VXP or a fleet VXP, and that's. But because, as we know, not everybody can pay money into this game, but every player that plays is a part of the community, and if they're not there, we lose. We lose something. So we need players that don't pay, as well as players that do.
And we just lost 400 sectors.
Yeah.
Like, if there's no one around for the top end players to hit, except for the top 10 or 20 people, yeah, it's going to be a community. It's going to be a very salty one, probably, but
you could fit them in a phone box.
They're going to get bored.
Yeah.
There's no, it just doesn't feel as good expressing dominance over a field of 20 as it does over a field of 200 or 2,000. There's less a sense.
We lost 400 sectors, but I don't know if you guys have scrolled around the map, but looking around, we probably could have lost like another half of that. Like, we could have probably went down to 10, because I went into 2 sectors that there was a couple of people clustered around one area, and that was it.
I mean, our sector's really busy. I've not had a look around because, I've just been busy doing chores. But it's nice to still have a couple of quiet sectors if they're there, because as we mentioned before, people like to find a quiet place if they can,
Yeah. Because I've had to use my ignore button quite a bit. Just with the increase of, I'm not sure if that's the 10-minute jump button that's going on right now, because everybody can jump every 10 minutes. But yeah, the last one, I think you missed this part, but the last guy was, he was not only going on for 10 minutes that the moon landing was fake, but the space is fake. And NASA is being funded through a conspiracy to both show the Earth is round and space exists.
The Illuminati.
I was like, oh my God. And I'm so glad we have the ignore button at this point in time, because it was just like, I'm doing stuff, so I'm sort of forced to read it. And it was like, I wanted to respond, but my responses, might have got me, a comm ban for them, just to tell them to shut the fuck up. It's just, but, that's just me. I just,
So I want to, if I can, I want to go back and touch on something that you guys had just been talking about, was the balance on PvP for the people that aren't in that top 1% of base hitting. I kind of hope that they would realize that the lower players are they don't want to have someone come in and whack their base and have like 3 minutes of damage, right? I mean, that's why the Vanquish was so damn popular at the beginning of the year. But then the question then becomes, what would seem balanced at that point? Is it that you don't want people to come in and just walk your base, or what? Because the way that they have been balancing it, if you get a couple of Conqueror fleets, right? Or a couple of Conqueror hulls, because a lot of times in Bounty, you just have to show up, right? How then do you balance it? Because the turrets are always coming out either really high priced or in Bounty or something like that. What do you think would help or what would seem better for a balance on the lower part of the scale?
Well, to have the defensive stuff come out through PvE avenues.
They do, but I
Raid,
mean, some of them do in
FM.
raid, but they're always
Some
expensive.
of them do, but even if they're expensive, it's better than. I mean, because again, we've seen offensive hauls come out in the raid, and then defensive hauls come out in the bounty.
Right, but we're all agreed that they shouldn't have any defensive stuff in bounty. We
But
already agree on that. Yeah, I understand that,
it.
but we already agree on that. That's not that point's already kind of like it's a known and made point. I'm kind of wondering on the balance side how exactly, because like now we don't have the whole 8 turret thingy for stacking, right? And the preview it was 4. Is that what it was?
Yeah, obviously we still got.
So
it's going to go to 4, isn't it?
Yeah, and then
but they didn't say that was finalised yet, have they? But I expect it will be. You know what I mean?
No, but I mean if they're talking like OP11, what was that? OP11 PvP upgrade or something like that? That was in the monthly notes.
10 days from
now. That's coming, and then they had the public preview. I mean, I'm guessing that it's close. It's going to have to be close. I mean, I don't know that they would have let that many people in to something that they weren't ready to take data on.
Yeah, and if we do get a few more turrets, it means that we can put a few more damage types out there when we only need 4 of each.
Yeah, I think that the 4 stack that you suggested, 4 max instead of 8 max to max out your damage, I think that's a good thing to do. Even if a player can only get 1 or 2 turrets, the base damages ideally would be higher, and that would make the turrets feel more significant. You'd be able to get more of the relevant turrets instead of, I mean,
and they wouldn't feel worthless, right?
Yeah,
like if you only had like 1 or 2 instead of, because 2 out of 4 is at half of what you're going to have as opposed to, a quarter.
Yeah, like the Halo turret is shit. It's awful. There's no reason for it.
Well,
and
we're all using turrets at the moment just for a base bubble, aren't we? Bubble pad.
You could, but also like, what if those turrets had high base damage so that the attacker didn't have to completely ignore them? It's like, oh, it's just a couple of Halos and the crappy blunderbusses and whatever. I don't have to care. I can just barge on ahead.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the bubble pads because that's probably going to change too, right? Because in the preview it was only one stack for fire. Was it 1 or 2 fire support stacks? 1, right? So you only needed one thing to have, So, I mean, that changes the whole bubble pad because now you can stick your warehouses outside again.
So the question I think with that becomes, if they're going to lower all of these tac mod fields, where does the specialization come in? If they both lower the tac mod fields and make it 4 max, and I know it's not out yet, so it's kind of pointless to speculate, but where then do you specialize? There's faction choice, which I'm sure is going to be useful, but we can't put in necessarily. I mean, okay.
But then it goes back to turrets. It goes back to turrets and
the FM prize. And then there's
the
like
FM prize, which is it's basically a specialized fire support.
There's that. There's like fuel air munitions for mortars, but with the way we have our center island set up
because we have the penetrative one now.
Pardon?
The one in the FM that's penetrative.
Yeah, like we could have a penetrative warehouse, and we could have an explosive warehouse, and we could have all 8 of those turrets. Maybe not all 8, but most of those 8 turrets on your center island. So you kind of spec in 2 areas at once.
Well, with just the requirement of 1 fire support, and if you put your warehouses on the outside, your bubble pad changes completely. You can take all your turrets back in now. So I think that the specialization is going to come in your loadout on the turrets and, your guard fleet. And that's where it's, again, comes into how do you make this so the mid-levels don't feel like they're just completely locked out of PvP.
Good evening, all.
Hi.
Good evening.
I think I have the easy answer. I don't know how easy the solution is, though. That's my difficulty. But it's a version of the 5 up, 5 down, where we have to get a base value versus a fleet value, and that allows people to hit at any level if they've got the right fleet level to do it. So all those guys under 80 that think they can snipe somebody with a level 120 base can build a fleet to go around smegging those. Likewise, they can't just roll in with a 485 fleet on a level 85. They'll have to dumb it down.
So what I'm thinking there,
I don't know. Yeah, see, I don't know if that's going to be a viable option though, because then you're going to reduce the pool size for people, you know, who they're going to hit for alliance points and all that other stuff. And we already have a very finite group of players.
Yeah, but that player base is going to shrink. The compression is going to create more combat and more people around the level 80 to 90 mark that have, you know, struggled through the level 50 mark and getting it again, much like many of us did with 25, 50 or whatever. You know, we've all been through it. It's going to create more drop-offs. That's all they've created. I mean, Brian used an interesting phrase earlier, you know, the feeling of dominance. The reality of it is there is no dominance because there is no even playing field. There never will be because nobody's income is even. So it's a perception of dominance based on ego.
A 10 level up and down would be a good idea if the bases were correct, but a lot of bases...
Levels don't work.
That's it, yeah. A lot of base levels are not reflective of an actual player's...
You have to base it on tech level, or you have to suck it up and carry on as we are and change the way that they push out tech to everybody.
Well, they're definitely already looking at that, and I think, you know, I think the best option would be basing it on tech level of two things, both the player base and then the fleet that's hitting.
Agreed.
Then you have an option to go and hit anybody, just as long as you have a certain, you know, setup. Before anyone starts freaking out, that's not to say, because I keep on seeing people like, oh, this level 500 fleet hit this level 80. The fleet level right now is completely broken. It's based on armor. It means nothing. So FYI.
But like one tier 7 hull would, if we somehow did it based on fleet level, a tier 7 hull would protect you from hitting a lot of bases, because the armor is 2.3 million versus tier 6, which is 150 or 200,000.
Yeah, I mean, the metric how they'd have to work that out is just purely what the player, the attacker, and the defender actually had to keep them within the same parameters.
Yeah,
you know,
and it wouldn't.
No, it's not impossible that a level 125 base, you know, somebody might need at level 90. They might have a tech level too high in their fleet to hit that level 125 base.
Of course, the worrying thing about that is as soon as a player starts building a really good fleet, it then opens himself up to be hit by a lot of other players.
No, because
on the defensive side, it would probably be their base turrets.
Yeah.
The calculation. So as strange as it would be, you'd have the crappy guy with level 6 walls and mediocre turrets builds his god fleet, goes out and wrecks level 120 something. Well, the level 120 something that just got wrecked, he might have to build a whole new fleet. He might have scrapped all of his stuff. And at that point, Kix makes money if he wants to build the fleet and go attack the guy.
Exactly.
But it'd at least be cheap in terms of titanium and time, hopefully.
And they can use the new, what you call it, on the dock, can't they? When they've got it. They can build a lower level fleet quickly.
Oh, the expert builds? Yeah, that'd probably do wonders.
And it'd be, you know, for a higher level player, it'll be those looking for a challenge. It's often an interesting challenge to go back in tech, build something different, to play different. So it would broaden the spectrum of play styles and game experience.
Sort of. I mean, each set of Conquerors has kind of had their own problems. The very first set, they didn't really know what they were doing with the Revenge, etc., but that eventually became okay, maybe. Then there was the whole Voltron fleet released out over a year, and that wasn't very good. Then there was the fact that some of the half tier and 6.75 tier stuff had 50,000 armor more and such higher deflection that they were negating previous stuff that supposedly was in that same tier. the obsolescence of the stuff happens so quick. I think it's interesting now with the simpler stat blocks and such. A lot of these hulls, the Onslaught, the MCX, or the MSC, they even stated in the design that they were built off of the DNX and the MCX. They were built with those old baser fleets in mind. So in that sense, some of the new stuff feels like playing the old way, and it's a lot simpler to play. And I think it's probably the best play experience that people have right now. But when there's so many damage types and there's so many numbers to calculate and so many parts and bits of armor, that's information overload that I think a lot of players just have a lot of trouble with.
Sure,
not even talking about the swings of tech.
I'm only looking at recent history there in general. I mean, fairly recent history.
Yeah, since the split.
With the dynamic we're talking about the ability of somebody of level 129 to be building a Seawolf fleet, for example, to go and hit people with level 30 bases or what. I'm just pulling numbers out of my head, but it opens all the back catalogue up. You know, it's Renaissance. It just gives people a shot at having a go at everything. You know, when they're bored, they can't find a target. They're not going. You know, they want to hit a base. Yeah, it's not going to be great, but the guy's not going to be going in with overwhelming power, and there is chance that the base that gets hit by an experienced player with Seawolves or the like learns some lessons on base defense from that, and advances them in that respect. If you take that, as
no. I'm just seeing that as a load of farming. I mean, I could go and build all the fleets that you know, and low level fleets, because if you're saying that it's the fleet level,
a load of farming is what's going on
would allow me to go and hit bases below level 80 and level 50. There's no way they could hit me back, you know. So you know, it's a one-way street.
Yeah, and Aaron on YouTube chat brought up the same point that, you know, I've taken a time, you know, for George's original question of how do we make things better for the mid levels. He brought up we didn't have this much problem before deflection, and what deflection is doing, since it's a hard number, it's not a percentage. What we're ending up with is you need to have the latest tech to even be fucking relevant in the game. Back when it was based on a percentage, your defenses were based on a percentage, and so therefore you could at least do some amount of damage because you were your defenses were working. Now, you know, you've gone from being, you know, I can stand a chance to boom, the splash from something, you know,
because you have to overcome deflection. If you can't overcome deflection, you're doing nothing. Yeah.
Which is
it's stupid.
It's a really difficult mechanic. I'm not in love with it, to be honest. And I agree, because that's what's going to continue to keep the lower and mid-level players out of this, is because you need to have the newest tech always if you're going with a deflection-based environment. If you went with a resistance-based environment that's based on percentages, but it doesn't allow for the power creep that they'd like to do.
Well, resistance,
you can't go from, you know, 99 to, you know, like what they're doing in PvE.
Resistance, evade, and countermeasures should be what they work with.
As an example, what they're doing in PvE, where you have your ships with 99.96 deflection, things that aren't even shown in the game, because they want a power creep. They want to keep on adding on, but they can't do it with resistances. They can only do it with deflection.
I just think resistance, evade, and countermeasures should be the way that they go forward. You know, I think DNX and MCX time, we had a year virtually with those two fleets, and that was the best fun I ever had in the game. It was much PvP was a much better balance back then, Dice.
I don't think that you're going to see resistances in PvP again. It's much easier to tune for deflections.
Tuned to the highest level. But your original question dealt with the mid and low level players, and that's the only way you're going to keep them in and keep them relevant is with percent based resistance.
Well, I mean, if they go back,
but
if they go and do something along the lines of tech based levels for fleets and bases, then that's going to be our discussion. Going back in our discussion, that would be a moot problem. That the argument would be moot because it would be fixed. On the other hand, if they can't do that anytime soon, what they could do is, I think originally they said when they came up with the tier stuff, they were going to go like, tier 6 comes out and then tier 5 is going to be this. And then when tier 7 came out, the tier 6 stuff, the tier 7 would be all the, like the damage and repair and all that stuff would go to what the tier 6 was. And like all that was supposed to stay static. And then the lower tier stuff was going to get cheaper and easier to fix and all that other stuff. And it didn't end up happening, but they could do something like that where when a new tier of PvP stuff comes out, the lower stuff gets really easy to get and maybe goes into the retro lab to get a boost. So there's like a little bridge between one tier to the next.
The holes become faster to build.
But there's still farms, though, right?
I agree with that, yeah.
But there's still farms,
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they balance everything really well, I mean, I'm hoping that when they go forward with this, it's going to be incremental in nature rather than these giant leaps that we've had the last couple of years. I mean, incremental makes much more sense and would keep everybody, it would lessen that massive gap that we have between the have and have-nots right now. And and the thing too is that I don't know if they realize that, players in this game, I think I was talking to Damnation about this, somebody, but we were talking about it, and the thing in this game is that you could come out with, especially with PvP, you could come out with something that's just like a 5% better hull, and PvP players are going to grab it because that 5% is important. So even if it's only like 200 or 400 deflection more going from tier to tier, we're going to fucking take it because it makes a difference, especially when there's the same incremental increase in base defense stuff. So I don't know why they would need to. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe because they don't play it as much as they used to back in the day. They don't realize the mentality that we have. But that's something that they really. I mean, if they understood that, I don't think that we would have as big of swings as we see, because I mean, we know always get the weapon, always get this. I mean, we know how this game goes, and if something comes out and it's even just a little bit better, we're getting it.
Yeah, even back with the first raid, with the original stats, the HHA was not. You got like 5% more evade.
And every motherfucker wanted those. Yeah,
10% more armor.
That
was about it. That was about it that you got on that thing, and it was like, oh, now you can run through every base. I'm like, no, this is not the this is not a cure-all.
But everybody wanted it.
Oh, yeah, everybody wanted it. But yeah, it was not a huge difference. It looks sexier. The HHA is way sexier looking than the Floating Fortress. But yeah, everybody wanted it, and it was one. Well, we want to get it. It was one prize per sector, but it wasn't a huge thing.
Right.
No.
So,
that's the point. It wasn't huge. It was slightly more powerful.
So
it wasn't a huge swing, was it? It was slow growth.
Can I interrupt for a moment here and kind of bounties canceled this month, FYI. I believe all this is going live right now, so if everyone wants to go to the forums, it should all be up. November 15th was supposed to be bounty. Bounty has been canceled.
Please, what are we gonna have instead? Please tell me it's not something bad.
Flying Dutchman 2.
It looks like the PvP refactor is going to be released instead.
Okay, alrighty.
So the PvP refactor is coming along before the last of the armors.
There's only one more armor, right?
Yeah, I think there's only one more armor, and that's that. I mean, I assumed it was in Bounty, but maybe it's going to be in the FM that week. I don't know. But it says, so November 13th, the PvP refactor is going to be up with the 8.46 update, it looks like. So the 13th is going to be the update. The 15th, Bounty's canceled because, everyone's going to have to kind of get used to it. We're going to have to refit stuff, redo our bases. I mean, all that. And then the 20th, so a week after we get the refactor, we're getting Outpost 11 going forward. So
walls.
Yeah, those walls.
It includes some super sweet improvements, upgrading walls. Kixeye, I hope you've been listening for the, about an hour.
They're working on that, but yeah, it's.
And we're getting a bacon hull, FYI. So
yeah, well, I already showed that on the show.
Yeah, well, that's coming out on November 21st, so that's up. That's up as well. That's going to be the Thanksgiving activity.
I'm thinking, I kind of wonder, but I also kind of understand.
I wasn't sure if it was bacon or was Laredo's college colors.
No, it's bacon.
Someone
it's
just trolling
100% bacon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's bacon.
I kind of wish it would have been a turkey. You couldn't really have done that with the hull, so just like a cosmetic skin, perhaps, where it's brown, there's a beak on the front, some tail feathers in the back. Turkey dragon.
Yeah, I don't know.
Delicious.
But I think I actually really like the move. If refactor's coming out before Bounty, then yeah, I mean, half of me wants to see Bounty first and then the refactor after, maybe swap those two, but I guess not. I mean, if the refactors can come in, they're going to want to watch data. They're going to want to see what people do. They're going to want to see how it actually plays into the game live. And that's a good call. I mean, Bounty is not something that you want to run when you just drop the refactor. So good call. I like it.
Good call. Should have been made earlier.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Well, Bounty being broke is a different thing entirely. I mean, I think the timing is just really, I think they've realized that the timing between the two, they probably don't want to run Bounty right after they drop the refactor. So that is good. I like that.
They need to chop CT CO plate 3 in the FM then. Really, don't they?
I mean, maybe. I mean, the refactor, I'm sure, takes into account all that stuff. So
I think if we're missing one piece of armor, it's not going to be that bad.
That's just the point. It should have been out prior.
Yeah, probably. But
the whole lot should have been out by September, really.
People were complaining the other way, saying that we were getting force-fed too much PvP content after we were told that they would flood us with PvP content to get everything out. So
yeah,
I know
I
this
never
is
understood
the internet
that.
and people can't read, but
yeah, that was really interesting.
that
amused me.
That was comedy.
We talked about this.
You would expect that every piece to be in place before they do it.
I mean, I think they may have intended.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think they may have intended to get it out much earlier. It's just that a lot of people started bitching and moaning after they had said, hey, we're going to dump the stuff so, you guys can kind of see it. We can see how it works all out there and everything else. And then there are so many people complaining about, content overload and this and that, even after they told us what they were doing, that I think they pulled back. I mean, honestly, I really think that all the stuff, I think originally they had said was going to be out by like mid-October. And we're into mid-November and we're still waiting on stuff. So I think I think that's one of those things where they reacted to the community and it didn't, wasn't.
Well, it really depends on how they saw it, because like the armors is an example. They've released each piece of armor individually. Back in the day, they would release all 3 sets of armor at once, and then basically make them at different prize levels. You know what I mean? And so they've made them, stand alone for several weeks at a time or a month at a time, as opposed to like releasing them all and then allow our players to figure them out, owning all three of them. But, you know, I guess the issue is also keeping them balanced at the same time. You know, like if it was a TLC, prize pack 1, 2, and 3 will be the, you know, this armor at this level, and this level. But they did them all, you know, they spread them out over all this time. So people kept on building these. You know, they would build one, you know. You understand what I'm saying, right? You know, they made them.
They would do,
new,
yeah, they would do level
the
1, 2, and
sexy
3.
army.
Yeah, they would do 1, 2, and 3, and they'd all have it all out at the same time, so you could pick it. But I think the difference in this is that, you know, it was, you know, you got to remember the whole plan got, you know, shoved real quick and compressed it. So I think the way that they were probably trying to do it originally was to have like the armor and, you know, turret come out and kind of offset each other and things like that. And in that case, it kind of made sense the way that they did it. But then when they compressed everything, it just, you know, it kind of just threw everything off. And again, I really think they wanted everything out sooner than this. I don't think that it happened because of, you know, reactions.
You'd expect everything to be out there, and then they can balance from having everything out there, because unless they're not planning to release the last part of the armor, because otherwise that would throw everything out of balance again. Because if it's going to be balanced on what we currently have, and then they release that could unbalance everything again.
No, I think when they did the balance, the refactor took into account everything.
Okay. Including the CTCO3?
I would
which
presume.
We don't have yet. Yeah. Okay. And that's where it gets messy.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out something right now, but you guys keep on talking while I type.
Yeah, it just seems if you haven't got all the parts there, it's going to get messy somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, they can afford to have one part not there. I think they'll plan for it, or if not, they will see it immediately and then change it. You know, like they did with the frontline countermeasure.
Yeah, like lowering the build time.
I meant just nuking the turret defense to keep it in line with everything else, but okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be nice if they lowered the build times on a lot of those.
yeah,
Like
it makes me wonder what they're gonna do. I remember a long time ago there was some massive change, and then they made everything swappable for like one base part. It might have had something to do with attack mod caps being changed.
I mean, all the new turret, you know, we can refit basically with one fill or half a fill of base parts. And
Yeah,
yet the frontline countermeasures and a few of the others are still like ridiculous build times. And why? There's no balance.
They never even. They don't even care to update. Like, they're pretty bad at going back and reducing the time of some of the older stuff. They'll do it for the new stuff. They did it for. It's strange because I just bashed them for it, but they did a very good job of it for the skirmish cycle. But I feel like that's because they didn't know they were going to make the skirmish cycle 3 months yet, or something like that. Because we got these reductions a week after the stuff came out, and it was so weird. Went from 17 days down to 12 to build a ship. So even now, it's just like there's this weird disconnect where they just can't get the timing and the cost. You know, and cost does certainly include time for things like this, right? They just can't. I want to know what they're going to do in terms of this discount. I want to know if it's going to be like a flat time discount, if it's going to be a gold only discount, because that is a lot of what they've been doing. It's, yeah, we made a mistake. This is half cost to fix, but it's only if you're paying with gold. And that's shady as shit. Like, that's just awful because they made this mistake. They made this horrible balancing mistake. And in this case, all of the stuff that's been released in presumably tier 7, I don't know if it's going to reach back further.
The frontline,
but like a whole year of tech all screwed up, and they need to rebalance it. And if they expect us to pay anything for that, they're out of their fucking minds.
see, it needs rebalancing and brought it into level because the frontline countermeasures are tier 6.5. Yeah, the pyroclastic turret is
They don't care about those.
7.
They don't care about that.
And
if
it shouldn't take longer to build a tier 0.6, a 6.5 than it does a 7.
And I completely agree with you, but they don't care. If they were going to change that, they would have. They would have, done anything. Instead, they just give you the turret themselves and enough 10-day build tokens that you can actually like put them on. You win like 60 days worth of build tokens, and that's insane. The only way that's even viable is because A, the build times on them were 25 days, and B, they don't care. I mean, the elite countermeasures I can see being longer because currently they are the best in class for what they do. Like, we haven't had a tier 7 or 7.5 equivalent of that, but 25 days is still nuts. And they have sort of lost some of their value because there's so many different kinds. Like, they've made concussive and corrosive more viable options. And while you can have ship-mounted defenses for literally every type of attack in the game, you can't have that on a turret. You can only have, what, missile mortar and UAV is what that thing counters. So even that, like, it has lost some value over time because of that. Not because of a direct improvement, because of a diversification in damage types. And unfortunately, those damage types have to contend with walls, which is, I guess, a trade-off. You can't get countered by turrets, but you have to go through walls. And that's an interesting trade-off in some sense, but it's all so strange. And it's so complicated that even they can't get it right. That's why the Street Factor's here. They fucked it all up.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very interesting patch notes next week. I want to see.
Did you guys notice that the first tier 8 PvP Conqueror Hull is coming out on that 21st Thanksgiving thing?
You go to several hells.
Man, I'm just the fucking messenger. What the hell?
Bang.
It will go through you and directly to Kixeye. I know full well not to shoot the messenger. Speaking of, shout out to Golden Doodle. Your local library and a number of online resources can assist you in resume building, which you're going to need to do in 3 to 4 months. Good luck. If history holds, sorry, buddy. It's not your fault. It's really not. It's probably not your fault.
Okay.
Yeah, the first TV. Wow. I was too busy looking at that bacon dragon.
Yeah, I kind of missed it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, wait a minute, that says tier 8, doesn't it? Yeah, tier 8.
Great. So this is going to be fun. A refactor, and then a week later, we get the first tier 8.
Yay!
Yeah, with my CTCO3 on it.
This is gonna be interesting.
I'm going to hide in a hole. No,
no crazy swings.
Good luck.
This is not going to confuse people to have a Inferno Dragon as a Conqueror Hall?
I don't think the Inferno Dragon's the Conqueror Hall, dude.
Oh, what is this thing? It looks
I think
like
that's just a skin. I think that's just a skin.
It's a skin.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, they have
good job,
the intro about a TV tier 8 Conqueror Hall, and they have the picture, so yeah. Just saying it might confuse people.
They'll get over it.
No.
You're right, they won't, but they're going to have to deal with it.
Okay. So, we got much else to talk about?
Haven't gotten any more info. Although I am a little, I don't know, tier 8. I mean, I'm hoping that because it's coming right after the refactor, that it's going to be incremental in nature. One would hope.
Yeah, I started the upgrade on my shipyard, which that was the first thing that made me worry about tier 8 because it doubles the weight. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that works out. Because doubling the weight implies that there's going to be a lot of power creep or whatever you want to call it going on. So,
what's the armor that we're missing?
You mean the dock, FA?
yeah, the dock. Yeah, as far as the I'm sorry, the dock.
Doubles the weight. Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking the shipyard. Yeah.
No,
it goes to 200,000 tons, isn't it? When you upgrade the dock,
yeah. Yeah. So
yes.
So okay. Do we have much else?
No, I think we got it. I mean, that's a big update right there, though. I will say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting points associated with that.
I think they've got to lay off everybody for a little while because there's going to be a hell of a lot of refits going on and rebuilds of bases. And
and
they don't want to be shoveling TLCs and other things at people at the same time because it's.
Well, the TLCs may help. That's the issue.
Well, if they're easy enough to get, if they that people can get that stuff, if it's going to be crazy, it's going to make life hard for a lot of people.
I'm thinking they might do a TLC where you hit kind of simplistic bases and get tons of conch tokens, just like 3 days conqueror token. Mastery,
what was the last PvP armor that we're missing?
CTC03.
Yeah. One left.
I almost wouldn't mind not having that because it would give more power to some of the newer hulls if they can balance things properly.
I mean, so I'm looking at this and we have Outpost 11, which we have. They're upgrading the defense platforms, portals, and walls, which also means more base power and everything. So that's clearly going to be tuned for the tier 8 stuff, but we're getting the refactor right on its heels.
It's just posted on the forums. Or
yeah, it's on the forums. I'm making a screen share, or you can go there.
I'm on the forums.
It's called November calendar adjustments.
Where are we? I've been. Oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah. Top one. Yeah. Gotcha.
Well,
yeah, I'm trying to find some stuff right now because a couple of them are online. I think they kind of were aware that this was, I guess, planned to drop tonight, and because I saw a whole lot of people get on Discord real quick. I'm trying to catch one of them, see if we can get something, because now I'm really curious about that tier 8. I mean, I'm hoping it's incremental because otherwise why even do the refactor for the tier 7 stuff? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what we got here. I mean, you guys look at the post. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in there. I don't know if you want to talk about something while I try and poke around, or
yeah. I mean, it's basically November 13th, which is 4 days from now. Pretty quick. Yeah, they're teasing you on that one. On November 15th, they canceled Bounty, which is good. Maybe it's a permanent thing. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, whatever. We can all hope. November 20th, Outpost 11 PvP update. This is when they add on the armor, what we talked about earlier in the show. They add on the armor, they add on the power, They add on the turret upgrades and whatnot associated with Outpost 11. And then, November 21st is the Bacon Skin combined with a Tier 8 Conqueror. So one day later after the let you upgrade, that's that. So, I mean, I don't know. Unless anybody else is looking at it, sees much more in there. That's what I see. So.
Aha. Okay, hold on. I think I might got something here.
Yeah, I put a link in the right-hand side in case anybody would like to join the after show. Yeah, and it's based on Alliance leaderboard position, which is, yeah. I hope this is just for kicks, whatever. Because
sorry, what was? I had to go and grab a beer. What was based on Alliance leaderboard position?
For Thanksgiving, we're running a special activity called Bringing Home the Bacon.
So we're going to run around the turkey
based on Alliance leaderboard position.
Do you know, we had a few players that deliberately dropped medals over the last few days in preparation for bounty.
Okay.
I mean,
so I have some stuff here. So I'm trying to see what I have permission here for. So I have permission for this. So the Tier 8 is meant to fit hand in hand with Tier 7 and not be a power escalation that obsoletes Tier 7. What's going to happen is within the hour, I think. Is that right? 6, 7, 8. So yeah, within the hour-ish, probably even sooner than that, Wrong Thinker is going to post a Wrong Thinker Thinks that is going to address a lot of the stuff that we just asked about, and kind of explain what's going on with the PvP refactor, Tier 8, and all that other stuff. So there's going to be a massive post here in the next, 30 to 60 minutes. So fantastic. Shout out to Chris for getting in touch with me and giving me permission for some of that stuff too. So yeah, so all sorts of good information is going to be coming out really soon. So hop onto that forums and maybe Discord. I don't know if they're going to post it in Discord, like the whole thing, or if that's just a forums only thing, but
they usually give forum links or stuff like that.
And the Discord, yeah. So that's probably it. So he'll probably post it in the forums, but that should be coming out very, very soon. And apparently it is going to be like everyone. I guess they already knew that we were going to be just kind of freaking out if the refactor came out and Tier 8 was going to be doing to Tier 7 what Tier 7 did to Tier 6. So it looks like it's meant to just kind of go hand in hand with Tier 7. So I'm presuming that means it's going to be incremental in nature, which would be freaking awesome. I would love to see my fucking Tier 7 stuff not be fucking worthless in a month or two. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean the November 21st part that's the part that's
a little scary.
Well, because they're going to reward prizes based on Alliance leaderboard position, individual leaderboard position. That's unless they're goofy prizes, I'm not happy with that. Alliance leaderboard position should not be providing a technological advantage to anybody, and I'm not terribly happy with that.
Can I just
it depends on how they do that.
Should I just give them the finger?
No, what I'm saying, unless they're like goofy prizes, like a skin or whatnot.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, I'm a lone wolf player, and certainly a lot of the player base in America, has Thanksgiving and family and a life and things they want to do around this time. So they mentioned, Flying Dutchman event. That's fun. And it wasn't. and they're saying this event's fun, and one of the prizes certainly looks fun, but you know, I've been burned not 3 weeks ago, and you know, I have a much longer memory for being completely burned than that.
So, yeah.
Watching you,
I mean,
kids.
it'll look
Watching you.
reasonable until, I read through that, and then it's like, yeah, Alliance leaderboards should not be providing technology or prizes to anybody, at least in my mind.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing as bounty.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not. It's not bounty. It's not the Alliance.
the Golden Nexus sure as fuck is.
Yeah, but it's not. Okay,
There's
whatever.
a way
And
for global
that's
players
sort
to
of
grind out bounty, the same currency.
True, and that's why I said it depends on how they actually implement this, because that actually can be. There's more than just the Alliance thing on there. There's the overall leaderboard thing too, and we don't even know which leaderboard they're talking about. I mean, there's a ton of stuff on there, and since there's a store to spend points, I'm guessing that that's going to be like a point-driven thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the Golden Nexus, I mean, we've held a few in the past, all over, the full, had one, then another one for a few days. We've done it quite a few times, but with only 100 sectors now, I don't think that's going to be our alliance is going to be doing that anymore. Because there's too many big alliances now condensed into smaller space, and it's again, it's going to be survival. Because there was enough available for us. If we was lucky enough to go in a reasonably quiet world, now we're not going to find one.
Okay. And we just got joined by Logan. Is there anything before we go to the after show? We've been going on for a couple hours. So.
Yeah, I think we covered it pretty well.
I'd just like to point out, Hefe, that there's a potato chip made out of corn in the UK called a frazzle, and it's a bacon flavored one, and it looks just like that skin. And ironically, the game leaves me quite frazzled at the minute.
All right. I'm glad it all came together at the end. For you. Yeah. Logan, you have anything before we go off? I think everybody else has had a chance to say something.
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to post the link on the right-hand side one last time in case anybody'd like to join the show. And otherwise, we'll see you on Wednesday when, at this point, who knows what's happening? Maybe they're canceling the FM. No, I'm just kidding. They're not going to do that.
Don't freak people out. Come on, man.
No, I said
you want to fight. You want to fight with somebody else that says space isn't real? Come on, stop.
No, I said immediately that wasn't happening. But yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of things that happened during the show that changed the player's perspective on what they're planning for, what they're doing, maybe what they were doing inside their base associated with bounty.
And this is why you watch the Crib Show.
Yeah, or read the forums or do whatever. But yeah, we'll see you all on Wednesday, and hope you all have a good time with VXP weekend and, learning more intimate things associated with your new sector mates. So,
oh, God.
Get intimate with your sector mates.
Good night, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Yes. Talk to y'all later, people.
Not everybody.
Appreciate you showing up.
Good night.
Good night,
Like
everyone.
and love. Subscribe. Later, peeps.